All right, so I got, Mr. Joe Lunardi on the show right now. Joey Brackets, I just want you to tell the people what are you most excited for this season?
I got to tell you, I think for me, going to games,
Yeah.
right? This time last year, we weren't even sure we were going to have a season or a tournament, right?
Right.
And thankfully, more good than bad
Hmm.
happened. I thought the level of play was exceptional, especially under the circumstances. The tournament, again, under the circumstances,
Right.
couldn't have been better and was thrilling from start to finish. Uh, I would love to have, maybe seen the Eagles knock off the rival Villanovan's here from Philly guy
Yep.
talking, but um, and from this at this point last year compared to what we got, I you'd have to really be a curmudgeon to say that it was bad.
Right.
Um, you
No.
know, and I also think that not enough attention was paid to the sacrifices that you guys made, players, coaches, traveling parties
Hmm.
around teams, all the testing, all the quarantine, all the inconvenience,
It was a lot.
basically to entertain us, right?
Mhm.
uh that I think was an underreported phenomena. um Having said all that, most of us operate in our own self-interest, and I only got to 3 games in person last year,
Okay.
none with any atmosphere at all.
Right.
And I have 4 TV assignments in the next 2 weeks,
Oh, yes, sir.
so
Love it.
I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. Okay.
To feel
Yeah.
the energy of the building.
Yes, the best part, right?
Like that's why we do what we do. I mean, at least in my case, it
Right.
isn't because I'm going to be on the receiving end of an alley oop dunk.
Hey, man, you talking? That is true. Okay, so most the media guys I've talked to so far, Billis, Seth Greenberg, and you now. So those guys, I asked them what were their storylines, for the year, and they said the impact of the super senior, right? The guys that got an extra year of eligibility because of COVID. But from your perspective, what are some storylines you're looking for this year?
Yeah, I guess that's why. I don't see that as a huge deal.
Right.
I mean, yeah, they're out there, uh, but like, how many are like at the Colin Gillespie level,
Yep.
right? Uh, y- you know,
Handful.
I still think that the top newcomers, the top freshmen, and maybe some transfers that have landed in opportunistic spots are going to have more impact across the board than super
Yeah.
seniors. I
Mhm.
mean, generally speaking, the most impactful of those guys already left for a paycheck.
Right.
And you can't fault them.
Not at all.
There's an unusual situation or two with an injury or special circumstances like Gillespie.
Hmm.
So for me, a couple things. It's hard for me to imagine that even with a preseason #1 ranking, that Gonzaga is going to be as good as they were last year. Like that was an elite team. Now
Right.
they didn't win the last game because Baylor was really good also, and a more difficult matchup for the Zags, and the Zags were coming off a harder semifinal game.
Hmm.
I've always believed that in the Final Four and even in the regionals, that I mean, it's never going to happen because of TV, but if there was an extra day in between, it would kind of mitigate who played a harder game and who
Right.
didn't, whether it's Thursday, Friday, Sunday, or Saturday, Monday, as is the case
Mhm.
most years to the Final Four. So I don't know that we have like a generationally elite team like the Zags were up until the last 40 minutes. But I think we have several really good teams. And I think the pool of teams that can win it all is deeper than
Yeah.
it was last year.
And that-
So for me, that's kind of what I'm going to be watching the most. In these early season non-conference events where some of them actually get to play one another on a neutral court.
Yeah. Those are great games. Starts next week, Champions Classic.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of last year, obviously there were, a lot of things that we saw were new in college basketball, just how the season was operated. But from your, vantage point, is there anything you learned from last year as far as like where a team deserves to be seated? Like for our case, we were, going 23-1 or 23-1 going into the tournament. Probably could have been undefeated, right? We lost to Asheville, but is there anything you learned as far as where you would seed, a team like that in the future?
Well, I don't. This maybe not be a popular thing to say. I don't think your seeding was a surprise.
No, not at all.
Or even truly objectionable. And I don't know how much it would have been affected by being undefeated, other than you would have had a lot more media attention along the way, like maybe one seed line.
Yeah.
Maybe. And, in fairness, you got a team that was missing, its first or second best player.
Right.
And it was just a bad matchup.
Mhm.
And I thought when I saw it that it was going to be a bad matchup because I thought they would really challenge you guys on the perimeter and kind of keep you from winning the game out there. And so be it. But overall, what did I learn? Well, selfishly, I learned that I'm a lot less tired at the end of March if I don't travel in November, December, January, and February. I did wake up in those key weekends in March a lot more refreshed than I am most years.
Mm-hmm.
And I am wondering what it will be like to be back on the road, how much we'll be back on the road. And, selfishly wonder how I'll feel, on what is today, November 3rd, how I'll feel on March 3rd.
Probably a little
4
different.
months from now. Well, maybe not. Maybe, you also get energized from being around people. Look, it's going to be a hybrid of experiences. It's still not going to be in every case open season, go whatever game you want to, travel however you want to, go out for an adult beverage after a game wherever you want to, et cetera, et cetera. I they'll still, again, that's not my department or area of expertise. Happy to try.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed interacting with people face to face. But this is already the third or fourth one of these, Nate, that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Zooming in, and I think that's been a welcome addition
For sure.
to the coverage of our sport.
More.
We never would have thought to do this maybe this way prior to last year. So, I think we learned that some good did come out of it. If somebody at the network would ask me to go on the halftime of the midnight game from the West Coast Conference on a Thursday night, it was a lot easier to get home when I was walking down the hallway to my bed as opposed to getting in the car and driving to a studio. So, yeah, I'm happy to take the good with the bad.
All right. Yeah, for sure. All right. Couple more questions for you. Two more. Okay. So I want to make it clear. It is November 3rd. So there has not been a college basketball game played yet. When you answer my question, I'm just going to say, who are 4 teams that you like right now? And obviously no one's played a game yet. So like, who are you kind of high on in the preseason?
Yeah, I have actually by this time Friday, I have to give my Final Four and championship picks. They'll get published.
Yeah.
And then, we're kind of stuck with those as it goes. And I did in November last year. You can look it up. I did take Baylor over Gonzaga a year ago. Of course, I also had Kentucky in the Final Four. And not only didn't they make the Final Four, they didn't make the tournament.
True.
So the two teams that I'm going to put in my Final Four, preseason Final Four, that I feel really good about are Kansas and Michigan. I think both have a good combination of experience and new talent.
Mm-hmm.
There really aren't many teams, if any, that are bringing back the amount of across the board older talent the way Baylor and Gonzaga did last year. That's why I kind of zeroed in on them a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Michigan and Kansas, maybe Kansas a shade above. If I had to bet a mortgage payment during this podcast on who would win the title, I think I would give a slight edge to KU. I haven't kind of zeroed in on the rest of my Final Four yet. I don't think I'm going to pick the Zags, even though they're number one. I don't think I'm going to pick Duke, even though, this is all going to be about Coach K's last hurrah.
Yep.
I actually like North Carolina as a little bit of a sleeper in the ACC. I'm a big Hubert Davis fan as he takes over.
Yeah, I hope they get their mojo back too. It's good it's fun when they're good.
Yeah, and everybody's all over UCLA. It's amazing to go from an 11 seed first 14 to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I don't think that comes close to guaranteeing a return.
Right.
And I here we go again. I like Kentucky. And I'm anxious to see, recent years, last year being an exception, they're always turning over the roster, so it takes them a while. So whatever we see opening night in the Champions Classic, I'm not hanging my hat on that. I like Purdue a lot.
Yes.
And at mid-May, I think the top mid-major might be St. Bonaventure. They actually do have. They started 5 juniors and brought them all back.
Yeah.
So
they'll be good.
That's kind of my quick overview of the landscape. And sleeper Sweet 16 team would definitely have to be Winthrop.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That would be cool.
And I'm looking forward to that big opener against Mercer.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Where's the game?
It's at home at Winthrop. So
a home game. All right.
So yeah, our coaches.
I'll be tracking that.
All right, cool. All right. So last question. I'm just curious. So you said you're doing a couple of games soon. So which games are you doing?
Oh, so I believe it or not, I have my own assignment with St. Joe's. Their first 4 games are on ESPN Plus from home.
Nice.
And I pulled duty on all of them. Cool. So yeah, and in between and not having to travel for any of them means I'm not giving up any additional days. So if I want to go, there's Friday the 12th, there's a 4-team event in Annapolis I might go to. There's a game at Rutgers, that's an hour and a quarter for me.
Okay.
Annapolis is about an hour and 3/4. So I'm starting to look at the map and the schedule, and I draw like a 2-hour circle
Right.
around Philly, and I say, hey, where can I go? Who can I see?
Yeah.
I'm actually not going to go to Champions. A, I have an assignment that night, and B, like we, meaning ESPN, like everybody at the network goes to that.
Mhm.
And I would rather go see other teams that are a little further down the radar. Like nobody's wondering whether Kansas, Michigan State, Kentucky, and Duke are going to make the tournament. Like
Right.
I need to go see the Rutgerses and the Richmonds and the Utah States and the
Yeah.
whomevers where I can.
Mhm. Cool. Well, that sounds like you'll have a fun winter for sure. Me too.
No doubt. No doubt.
Good to be back, man. Really appreciate it
Good
again.
luck, Nate.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
thanks
coming.
for having me.